When Juan first moved from Spain to the UK, he had to start driving on the left. It was difficult for him at first because he wasn't familiar with driving on the left. After some time, Juan started to become more familiar with driving on the left. After about a week, Juan was okay with driving on the left and he didn't have any problems with it. Now, Juan can confidently drive on the left. Okay, so if you're not sure, Spain do drive on the right, and in the UK, we drive on the left. So Juan has moved from Spain to the UK, and he finds it difficult, okay, to drive on the left. Let's take this part here. So I'm going to read the first part. The second part I'm also going to read, and I'd like you to tell me what you think goes in the gap. When Juan first moved from Spain to the UK, he had to start driving on the left. It was difficult for him at first because he wasn't familiar with driving on the left. So notice that part in red that I've highlighted. He wasn't familiar with driving, okay? When Juan first moved from Spain to the UK, he had to start driving on the left. It was difficult for him at first because he wasn't blank blank driving on the left. Perfect. He wasn't used to. He wasn't used to driving. Notice that structure as well. Not used to drive, right? Not used to drive. Used to driving. He wasn't used to driving on the left. So you see the two parts in red. He wasn't familiar with driving and he wasn't used to driving. They mean exactly the same thing. So here I'm talking about feeling comfortable, right? I'm talking about feeling comfortable, feeling familiar. And another way of saying that, a more common way, is to say be used to. So he wasn't familiar, he wasn't used to driving on the left. Here's another part of the story. I'd like you to do the same thing. After some time, Juan started to become more familiar with driving on the left. Notice that it's changed a little bit, yeah? We're not using to be, we're using become. We're talking about the process of becoming familiar. Now we're not talking about the feeling of being familiar, we're talking about the process of becoming familiar. After some time, Juan started to blank, 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 driving on the left. What do we think? This one may be a little bit trickier. We'll see. It's spelled Juan because J and H for some reason is spelled H. No, it's not. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Surya. We still spell Juan with a J in English because it's a Spanish name. Get used to. Perfect. Swan? What was that? Juan. It's because I confused Juan and started. Juan started to get used to. Notice the pronunciation as well. I don't say to get used to. Used to. I say used to. Used to. I remove that D here and it's like use. Used to. Juan started to get used to driving on the left. So here, Juan is becoming familiar. We're talking about his process, okay? Keep this in mind. Here's another example, the final one, and then I'm going to do some clarifying with the story. After about a week, Juan became familiar with driving on the left, and he didn't have any problems with it. After about a week, Juan, blank, 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 driving on the left, and he didn't have any problems with it. What do we think? Juan became familiar. Again, we're talking about process. We're saying here his process has finished. Some people have got it, but mind the tense. What tense is the first one? Juan became. What tense is that? That's the past. Got used to. Perfect. Someone's got it. Juan got used to driving on the left. Juan became familiar. Juan became comfortable. He got used to driving. His process of becoming familiar finished. Okay? So, here, I've got a timeline that just completes the story a little bit. Don't worry if you can't see it, okay, because I will put this as a PDF in the description later, but I just want to go through it just to clarify some things. So if we start over here, this box here, so at the very beginning of the timeline, Juan moved to the UK and wasn't used to driving on the left, meaning he was not familiar with this. He was not familiar with driving on the left when he first moved to the UK. He wasn't comfortable with it. He wasn't used to driving on the left. Then here, Juan started driving on the left. He moved to the UK, he got a car, he started driving, right? This line here refers to the process of him driving every day, right? So this box here, Juan was getting used to driving on the left. Now, we're talking about process. His process started here when he started driving, yeah? Now we're talking about him becoming familiar. His process of becoming familiar. So Juan was getting used to driving on the left. He was becoming increasingly familiar with driving on the left. Now, after some time and some practice, of course, your process of becoming comfortable is going to end, right? Because there will become a point where you think, yep, I'm comfortable with this now. I'm comfortable with driving on the left. So here, to represent that, we've got Juan got used to driving on the left. He became familiar and comfortable with driving on the left. Now, if we want to talk about it in the present and we want to say that Juan is still comfortable, then we can say Juan is used to driving on the left. Juan is familiar. Juan is comfortable with driving on the left. All right? So here, just to 100% clarify, be used to with ing refers to the feeling of being familiar and comfortable with something. I feel familiar, I feel comfortable. While if you use get used to, it refers to the process of becoming familiar or comfortable. So if you're talking about I feel comfortable, be used to. The process of becoming comfortable, get. All right, get used to. Any questions so far? Rather than saying, it's so confusing, why don't you tell me why? Yeah, thanks for the timeline, it's more clear. Yeah, with the timeline, it definitely helps. I've found that with private students of mine when I talk about this kind of grammar, that having the timeline definitely helps. Any questions? So far, no. Does this mean that people are able to understand this? Good. Okay, let's continue. If any other questions do come up, can you drive on the right? I've never tried to drive on the right. I've only ever driven on the left side of the road. He started getting used to driving. Yes, you could say that. Yeah, he started getting used to, or he started to get used to. Last week, I did a lesson on certain verbs that have the gerund or infinitive after them. So, for example, stop to do and stop doing. I talked about that in a lesson last week, so you can go check that out. And I did give a list of verbs as well that talked about like if you use gerund or infinitive after them, then the meaning doesn't change. And continue, start, so on, begin, those ones, you can use a verb or a gerund after them and the meaning doesn't change, which is really handy. Any other questions? Okay, if you don't understand the timeline, just go back after the lesson because I don't want to re-explain the timeline. Otherwise, people are going to get a bit bored. But I suggest that you go back, watch the replay, or you download the PDF after the lesson, go back. If you still have questions about it, just put them in the comments of the video. But I don't want to go through it right now. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to get very repetitive and people will get really bored. Sorry, guys. He didn't used to drive on the left. Yes, you can, but then you're using used to drive. You're not using be used to driving That's something different. We're going to talk about that in a moment. I was used to driving on the left, but not anymore. You could, but then that means I was familiar with driving on the left, but now I'm not familiar with driving on the left. It exists, but it's just to clarify the meaning of that, to make sure that you understand the meaning of what you're saying. I'm getting used to speaking English by teacher. I'm getting used to speaking English with a teacher, I would say. Good example. You're going to have a chance at the end of this lesson to practice, and I'll give you some feedback as well on some of your comments. I saw many teachers that used to just happen in the past, but in this context, there are many kinds of used to. That's because, Esther, you're confusing used to and be used to. They're two different things. I'm going to talk about those in a moment. Stay focused. So yeah, there are two different things. Used to and be used to. Very, very different things that people confuse all the time. Why don't we use... there we go. So what's this ads? Why don't we use used to instead of be used to? I'm going to get there, guys. Also, watch the lesson that I did on Tuesday where I talked about used to, because I talked about used to in detail. Today I'm talking about be used to in detail. So I'm not going to talk about used to anymore. I'm just going to focus on some more examples. So here, be used to ing. You guys always ask for more examples, so here we go. I'm used to streaming lessons every week, meaning I feel comfortable with streaming lessons every week. When I moved to Bristol, I wasn't used to the accent, meaning when I moved to Bristol, I wasn't familiar with the accent. With get, I'm getting used to receiving lots of messages, meaning I'm becoming familiar with receiving lots of messages. It's something I'm still not accustomed to. It's something I'm still not comfortable and familiar with, but I'm in the process of becoming accustomed and I'm in the process of becoming familiar. After streaming for a month on YouTube, I got used to doing live streams. After streaming for a month on YouTube, I became familiar with doing live streams. So you see, we can use those in the same way. So, just to show you a little bit more about the use of these, be used to ing, focus on that structure. Focus on the structure here. This is very important. I'm going a little bit ASMR now, but it's very important, is the structure. Be used to ing. I am used to teaching online. I am familiar with teaching online. Be used to it or them or a noun. For example, I'm not used to hot weather, right? So you don't always have to use the gerund, the ing. You can use a noun or you can use it or them or whatever, right? With get, it works exactly the same way. Get used to and the gerund or ing. I got used to teaching. ing. Okay? I'm going to say that a million times and you'll see why. I got used to teaching online a few months ago. I became familiar with teaching online a few years ago. I got used to it. So again, I can use it, them, or a noun instead of the gerund. And the last one, what we tend to do with get is we use it in the continuous form. So you could say, I am getting used to receiving, or I was getting used to receiving. And you just conjugate the verb to be. All right? And you're then talking about the process of something. Now, the big fat question of today, what is the difference, Emma, between be used to ing and used to with the verb? For example, what's the difference between I am used to teaching online and I used to teach online? So this one here, you're talking about being familiar, comfortable, accustomed to something, right? Oh, comfortable, I've spelled terribly there. To be ing, you're talking about being familiar, being comfortable, being accustomed to something. I am used to teaching online. I am accustomed, familiar or comfortable with teaching online. Accustomed to. The preposition is to with accustomed. I'm accustomed to teaching online. I'm familiar with teaching online. I'm comfortable with teaching online. You see? While used to, without to be, and without ing, just the normal verb, it means something happened repeatedly, there we go, in the past that doesn't happen now. Very different meaning. So I used to teach online means I taught online in the past repeatedly, but now I don't. Completely different meaning. And the problem is that these two structures are so similar that a lot of students confuse them. So they say something like, I am used to teach online, and they use to be up here, they use to be with the normal verb and not ing. And that's really confusing because I don't know if you're talking about being familiar with something or if it's something you did in the past. Okay, so be really careful with this, because when students tell me these and they make these mistakes, I have to go completely by context to understand what they're saying. And if I still don't understand what they're saying, I will ask them, oh, you mean you're accustomed to something? Or you mean you did it in the past? And I will ask them and I will clarify. So it just shows that you can't really get away with mixing this one because it will confuse people. I hope that has definitely cleared that and it's helped. Any questions about it? The chat was very quiet then. I guess it's because people were really focusing. That's really good. I hope that's why, and people just didn't leave and think, I didn't understand. But is that clear for you guys? Because we're going to move on to a practice time now. Just practicing be used to ing and get used to ing. Don't worry, I haven't tricked you with used to in there as well. I'm getting used to get used to. Okay. Look here. So Abdullah has said, sorry to pick on you, Abdullah, but you've given a perfect example of what I said before. Now, if you say, I'm getting used to use, you're confusing the two here. Okay? What I said before is some students confuse them and they say, I am used to do, or I used to doing, and they confuse the two. Right? And that's really confusing for me because I don't know whether you're talking about being familiar and comfortable and accustomed to something, or if you're talking about something you did in the past that you don't do now. Makes sense? It's really confusing for me, not just me, but it's confusing for other people. And you definitely need to get the grammar right with this one. You know, guys, I normally tell you, if you get the grammar wrong sometimes, it's okay. Natives will understand you and other people will understand you. But with this, you have to get it right. Otherwise, people aren't going to understand you. One question, how does a sentence with not and used to look like? I didn't used to use English some years ago. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Yeah. But then you're talking about something that you did in the past that you don't do now. It's not the same as be used to, right? If you want to use be used to, I am not used to using English. I was not used to using English. You conjugate the to be and you conjugate get. I'm used to eating pizzas. I'm used to cheating on my girlfriend. Oh no! Your poor girlfriend. I'm getting used to using be used to. Fantastic! Oh, I'm really happy about that. Can I say be used to is beginning state of doing something? When I say I'm not used to wake up whoa. No. That's my answer to that one. That means I didn't try to get used to it. No, you would just say I didn't get used to waking up early in the morning. You would just say that. I didn't get used to. Any other questions? I'm used to talking in English. Perfect. Good. Please write in English in the chat as well. Otherwise, I will kick you out. Anyway, let's do some practice. So, I'm going to give you some questions. I'll also give you an example. I'd like you to tell me in the chat how you would respond to these. So, for example, here I've got, tell me one thing in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, in the comments, please. Tell me one thing I will need to get used to if I move to your country. So if I move to your country, what will I need to get used to? What will I need to become comfortable with? What do you think will be strange for me that I will need to become familiar with and accustomed to? So, for example, if you move to England, you will need to get used to the changing weather. Here's an example. Another one, while you guys tell me in the chat, if you move to England, you will need to get used to eating earlier. Because I know in some countries they eat their dinner later, while in the UK, we eat dinner earlier. We eat it at our normal time, and our normal time is around 6, 7 p.m. But I know that other normal times in other countries, they are something like 9 p.m., 10 p.m. That's really late for an English person. We would never eat that late. It's very abnormal for here. Fantastic. Some are already coming through. I'm getting used to teaching online during the corona pandemic. I know. I think a lot of teachers are, but I'm glad you're getting used to it. That's good. I am used to playing video games. Fantastic. That doesn't relate to the question, but it's a good example. Okay, here we go. You will need to... the chat's going super fast. It's good that you guys write in the comments. I love it. You will need to get used to driving on the right. I think I need to get used to driving on the left before I could drive on the right. I've forgotten how to drive, honestly. I haven't driven a car for about 9 years. That's so bad when I think about it. It took me 4 attempts to pass my test as well. How bad is that? I had to take my test 4 times. I finally passed. And since I passed, I've never driven a car. You will get used to eating spicy food. Good. I would say you will need to get used to eating spicy food. Or spicy dishes, sorry. Perfect. Amo tus clases. Oh, thank you, Juan. Juan, are you the guy from my example at the beginning of the lesson? If you move to Slovakia... Oh, I said that a bit strange then. Slovakia. There we go. If you move to Slovakia, you will need to get used to eating the cheese. If you move to Syria, you will need to get used to... Oh, no. I can't say that. I'll get demonetized. But that's true. That's very true. If you move to Algeria, you will need to get used to learning. Used to learning. B-I-N-G, used to learning a few words in Arabic. In Afghanistan, you will need to get used to eating lots of good meals. Yes, I like the sound of that. I'm getting used to watching live lessons. Very good. Make sure you pluralize lessons. Otherwise, it's just one lesson. Yeah? Live lessons. Perfect. The chat's going super quick. I'll read a few more, but I can see from quickly looking through that most of these are correct and really good. If you move to Canada, you will need to learn French. Okay, that's something I will need to do, but it's not something I will need to get used to. Maybe something like, if you move to Canada, you will need to get used to speaking French, for example. Okay, number 2. Here's another one. What is something you need to get used to when you move away from your parents' house? So what's something you need to become familiar with and become comfortable with and become accustomed to when you move away from your parents' house? I have an example. you need to get used to cooking your own food, which is true. It's difficult when you leave home for the first time as well, and you need to start making your own food. You need to get used to doing your own shopping. You need to get used to paying your own bills. You need to get used to cooking for yourself. Yes. Good. Lots of others. Other examples for the first one. Some of these examples are really, really, really good. Definitely look at the comments right now, guys, at the chat, because there are some fantastic examples. You need to try kebab. I've tried kebab. You know, in Bristol as well, they do a vegan kebab. I know that may be really shameful to some people, but the vegan kebab is amazing. Because, of course, I don't eat meat. So any vegetarian or vegan alternatives I will try. And sometimes they're not very good, but oh my God, guys, if you are in Bristol, there is a vegan kebab place and it is amazing. Okay, let's have a look at your examples with this one. So, what is something you need to get used to when you move away from your parents' house? You need to get used to managing, not manage. You need to get used to managing your own expenses. Really good vocabulary there. Your own expenses, your own finances. Good. I need to get used to washing, not wash. Remember what I said before. Don't confuse these two. If you confuse them, I don't know which one you're trying to use. Are you talking about being accustomed to something? Or are you talking about something that happened in the past that doesn't happen now? I don't know. So you need to make sure that you get it right. So I need to get used to washing my own clothes. You need to get used to washing your own clothes. Great minds think alike. Many people are talking about washing clothes. You need to get used to silence. Guess it depends where you live. I live in Bristol. It's super noisy compared to where my dad lives. You need to get used to doing the washing. Fantastic, yeah. Just as a quick clarification as well, the difference between doing the washing up and doing the washing, because they look really similar, but if you're doing the washing, you're talking about washing the clothes. If you're doing the washing up, it means you're washing plates and washing dishes, okay? You need to get used to taking care of your appearance. Obviously, I try very hard at doing that. Not. Perfect example. Good, thank you. You need to get used to doing the vacuuming in your new flat. Yeah, exactly. Do it. I was just about to say, do I have a vacuum? I couldn't remember. We do, but I don't really use it that often. Mostly because I don't like vacuuming. I prefer sweeping the floor. It's easier and quicker. I don't like vacuuming. It's too noisy. Wakes up the hamster. Then he gets really mad at me. Doesn't want to play with me. Any other examples? You need to get used to shopping for your own clothes. Good. You need to get used to making invigorating coffee for yourself. I love that. Invigorating coffee. Not just any coffee. Invigorating coffee. That's really good. I like that. Really good word as well. You need to get used to having fun when you watch live lessons. Good. You need to get used to looking after me or looking after yourself. You could say. So yeah, I need to get used to looking after myself. Reflexive, because it's an action you're doing to yourself, yeah? I need to get used to looking after myself. You need to get used to bathing because of scarcity of water. Oh no, why is that? Emma didn't get used to vacuuming. That's true. I didn't. Oh no, I hate it. I just hate the noise. I told you, like, it wakes up the hamster and I feel bad. You can't understand like how respectful I am to this hamster. He is the absolute king. He doesn't even pay rent and he is the absolute king of this flat. You need to get used to managing your own life. You need to get You need to get used to getting parties at home. I would say having parties at home. You need to get used to having parties at home, especially now in quarantine, doing Zoom parties. Have you heard of this? Really good examples, guys. So this one here. What things are you used to doing that many people aren't? That many people aren't used to doing, okay? What things are you used to that many people aren't used to doing? What things are you familiar with that other people are not familiar with? So, for example, I'm used to doing live streams, and I sometimes forget that live streams are actually quite hard to do. And when I watch other people who are completely new to live streams do live streams, they get so nervous, and I think, oh no, you poor thing. Okay, yeah, it's really tough, I know. If I make it look easy, it means that I'm a pro. I'm joking. I may also be moving my software as well from OBS to Streamlabs OBS. So yeah, let's get ready for some more noob streams like I used to do at the beginning of all of this. Any responses to this one then? Some things that you're used to doing that many people aren't. I'm used to doing yoga. Perfect. Yeah, yoga's really hard. Like, some people say, oh, yoga's so relaxing. Oh, I really de-stress with yoga. But when I do yoga, I can't do it. I'm like sweating. I'm shaking because my muscles are just so weak. I'm so bad at yoga. I can't do it. Am I the only one? I feel like I'm the only one. I don't go to yoga classes because I'm literally the only one that's like shaking and sweating, and everyone's so zen. I'm used to speaking to myself, but now I don't because there are 4 people in the house. Can you imagine? Can you just imagine if you continued walking around the house still speaking to yourself? Do you think your housemates would think you were crazy? Probably yes. I'm used to washing up and tidying up while talking on the phone. Ooh, that is multitasking. Good skill to have. You need to... comments are going so fast. I'm used to learning things by myself. Good. I'm used to writing using my left hand. Interesting. Fun fact about me. That's not very fun. But I'm right-handed. However, when I eat with the utensils in the other hands. So people normally have the knife in their right hand, right? So they have the knife and they have the fork and they cut with the knife. But I can't do that. I don't know why. I cut with the left. It's so weird. I don't know why I do that. I can still remember my dad, when I was younger, shouting at me, telling me, why don't you eat with your hands like the correct way? Why don't you eat properly? And I said, I don't know. It's the way that I learned. You never corrected me. So it was my dad's fault. It wasn't really. It's probably mine. He probably did try and teach me, but I resisted. I'm used to making pizza. Good. Pizza's quite hard to make, actually. Like, the base is hard to get right. The dough. I'm used to playing football. Oh, no. Hold on. That's floorball. What is floorball? I want to know what floorball is. I guess it's the opposite of ceiling ball. I don't know. I'm used to tidying my bedroom. Good. I'm used to sleeping on a plane. Very good. I'm used to getting up very early hours and sleeping during the day with sunlight coming in. Oh, yeah, that's tough. You need some of those blackout curtains where it makes the room completely dark. You need to get used to. Yeah. I am used to swimming in the sea. Very nice. Oh, I hate swimming in the sea. I really do. I'm not going to go into the story why. I'm going to save that for another day. But I really don't like swimming in the sea. And don't worry, it's not because of sharks or anything like that. Like, it's actually a really serious story why I don't like going in the sea. I got really sick one time from it, and I don't trust the sea. The sea is not my friend. I'm used to oversleeping my work and making up some clever excuses. Making up, that's a really good phrasal verb. To make up in this context means to invent something. Floorball is similar to hockey. Oh my god, Mike, I need to find out more about floorball. Floorball? I've never heard of Am I the only person who's never heard of floorball? Please tell me, has anyone else? Please tell me in the chat, has anyone else heard of floorball? I'm used to drinking blood and ice. I'm used to shaking my ears. You guys are like the funniest examples. The good thing is, the weirder the example, the better, because you will remember this. Like, you will remember that structure. If you say, I am used to drinking blood at night, you will remember that structure because it's so unusual, is the example. So yeah, definitely try and make your examples really weird. Let's have a little competition. Who can make the weirdest example? I'm used to sleeping late in the morning. Good. Yeah, I find it quite difficult actually to have a lie-in. I'm just too much of a workaholic, I think. I used to thinking of you when I'm enjoying a cup of tea. Oh, that's so weird. I'm not used to doing a cheat on my friends. Okay, this is a good one. I'm not used to cheating on my friends in an exam. Now, if you cheat on someone, it means that you're in a relationship, like you're a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife or something, and then you go and see another person, okay? Like you're having another relationship with another person. So not cheat on my friends, because it sounds like you were all in a relationship together. You're all boyfriends and girlfriends, for example. But you can fool your friends, maybe? I'm not used to fooling my friends. Maybe that would fit better. I'm not sure. I'm going to read a couple more examples and then we're going to finish because I've been streaming for nearly 1 hour and I like to keep these to half an hour just so when people watch the replay, they don't write in the comments, it's so long, it's the lesson. Floorball is a popular sport in Europe. It is played with hockey sticks and a ball. Mike, I've never heard of this. Which country are you from, Mike? I'm so curious about this. I need to have a look online. No one else has said that they don't floorball. This is so weird. I've never heard of it. Then again, I know that in certain countries you have certain sports that are quite unique to your country. So for example, paddle. Like if anyone's from Spain and I say paddle, you will know exactly what I'm talking about when I say paddle. But if I say paddle here in the UK, like I play paddle, I don't, but as an example, if I tell an English person I play paddle, they would look at me like, what is paddle? They would look at me like I'm weird. Okay, a couple more examples. I'm not used to eating rice, milk, and sugar together. I'm not used to sneaking. I guess that's good. I'm used to working out 4 days a week. That's a good example. I'm not used to screwing up all the time. Good. Anyway, guys, fantastic examples. This was a really, really good lesson. I loved your examples. Just please, let's just go back a second. Do not confuse. I'm going to go all ASMR now. Do not confuse these two, okay? Do not confuse be used to ing. For example, I am used to teaching online. This means you're familiar, comfortable, and accustomed to something. If you use used to plus the verb, you're talking about something you did in the past repeatedly, habitually, for example, and now you don't do that thing, okay? Two very different ones. Don't confuse them either, like confuse the structures and say, I am used to do, or I used to doing. Don't confuse the structures because it will confuse other people. But that's it. So I really hope that this lesson has helped. Don't worry if you've missed it. You can go check out the replay. That will be available in a couple of minutes once I finish this live stream. I'm also going to put this document as a PDF in the description. Just give me a few minutes to upload it to my website and stuff and link that down below. But it will be there if you want to review anything. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments and let me know, and I'll be happy to help out if I see your comment, okay?